Hey, what's up? It's Charlie with CompetitiveEdgeProducts.com. In this video, I've got behind me, and I've had this up for a month, the White Duck 13-foot bell tent. It's canvas, and it's the Regatta. I've had it up for a month because I wanted to test it. I've had some tents that I've tested that are canvas that couldn't make it more than a month here in North Carolina in the shade. I'm in my backyard, but the backyard is shaded. And with all the rain and the humidity, I've gotten mold on some of my canvas tents. So the interesting thing about this particular tent is that it claims to be mold resistant or have mold resistance, some type of treatment that prevents it. So I left it up for over a month. I just looked online at how much rain we got in the last month, and it just blows my mind because if you've seen any of my videos from when set up in my backyard in Utah, where there were hardly any trees and I didn't have any gray in my beard, there's no rain, there's no humidity, there just isn't a mold problem. So here we are now in central North Carolina, and we got 5.9 inches of rain over the last 30 days. So I thought, perfect test. So those of you who live on the coast or in the south or in a humid environment, this might be beneficial to understand that it held up really well. By the way, there is no mold, there is no mildew. The tent is dirty, but it's dirty because I've got all these pine trees above me that have, and birds. But I have this fly cover top that has held up really well. My only surprise or my only complaint is that it's sagging. It's definitely sagging. Not because it's not like any defect or anything, but I mean I haven't been camping in this the entire time. We've camped in it a bit, but I haven't camped in it every day for 30 days here in my backyard. And these ropes, they need to be tightened. You can see everything could use a good tightening, but if you're camping in it, like, you're gonna realize that as soon as it starts to sag, especially the first time you use it, because that's kind of expected that you're gonna have some, especially if it's raining, the canvas is gonna stretch a little bit, so you're gonna need to put some more tension on it. But that's really kind of my only complaint. I'll show you a little bit of a quick tour here in a second. If you saw any of the videos that I've done prior to this one, you saw, I asked my wife if she'd set this up by herself, and I filmed it, but I wanted to show you that a small person like my wife, who's like 5'4" and 110 pounds or something like that, could put it up. There's only 2 poles and there's a bunch of guy ropes, and the guy ropes are super beneficial if you're going to be experiencing a lot of wind, rain, and snow. The fly cover is especially nice if you're using a stove, I think, because it prevents the embers from actually falling and hitting on your tent. You shouldn't have an ember problem if you don't use the cover, but as long as you're burning good clean wood and not a bunch of pine cones or kind of like garbage wood that's just gonna burn really fast and let off a bunch of embers outside of the stovepipe, and some of those will land on your tent. But really impressed. I have had, and here I'll just show you. You might not believe this, but the entire time that this has been out, I kept the door was closed. I kept the door closed, but I kept these windows open here. And there's an overhang on the outside, so it's not like it's just a flat surface. So it almost kind of functions as a storm window. And I just went in and checked around the perimeter, and there isn't a drop of water. And we had really bad rain for 2 days ago. The only water that I did get in here, and you'll guess exactly, those of you who have anything like this or have a stove, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But I did get some just at the bottom of the stovepipe there, because it would run, not a lot, but when you hear with the amount of rain, the torrential downpours that we have experienced in North Carolina, you are gonna get some rain through your stovepipe. And I didn't have a rain cap for my stovepipe, so I just took the bigger section out, since I'm not using it, But some rain did get inside the stove, and since they're, you know, they're like cast iron, or there's some type of steel, but they will rust if they get wet. So there's rust inside, which I don't really care about. No rust on the outside. This is a Colorado cylinder stove, and it's the smallest one that they have. I've demoed all of them, and in this 13-foot, in my climate, in the winter, I don't need anything bigger than this small version. It's perfect. But I did cut the stove jack. I didn't do an amazing job at cutting out the stove jack. It has a guide that shows you where to cut. It has a 5 and a 6-inch stitch that kind of acts as a guide. And I wasn't able, I thought I was being super conservative, so I left a lot of space inside that seam, and I should have left more. So I'm going to do a video on that shows you how not to cut out a stove jack, how to cut one out correctly and learn from my mistakes. I guess I'll put it that way. But the stove is great, did awesome. The stove jack on the tent itself closes from the outside, and so does the cover top. It has its own that covers as well. So with all the rain and everything, I had to close that. If I had a rain cap, I would have left it on, and I wouldn't have, the amount of water that would have gotten in is very minimal. It's mostly on the outside. When it rains, water hits this and then runs down through here. But it was a minimal amount, nothing that a couple paper towels couldn't get off really easily. So another thing I think is really nice about this is that these doors open. You can zip the screen open. You can zip the screen closed and keep the canvas portion open so you can get in light and keep the bugs out, or you can close them both. But I don't see any bugs in here, and the floor held up really, it's just a good floor. These pads, by the way, if you want to see more about these are the Klymit pads. They're inflatable, and they have this insulation right here. So it's like a cushion that inflates, with the exception of that part. That's where your feet go, but the padding goes all the way up to where your pillow would be. And those come in different sizes too. There's links for those in the description. Oh, and if you're wondering about this chair, these are some of my favorite chairs. They're called the Larry chair. Designed by a guy named, you guessed it, Larry. And it's a really awesome chair. It's done by Travel Chair. If you want to see more of those, check the link in the description. Let me show you the outside, and we will wrap this up. So we have the fly cover on, and I did tighten this just now. This side I tightened so you can see how it's supposed to look, and then this side that sagged, you can see how it's not supposed to look. Look at that. It just needs to be tightened, and then there's no problem. But I'm going to walk around the perimeter, and you can see it's a little dirty. I don't know if you can see it. Here, let me get a little bit closer. It's just dirty because I got these pine trees, and then you can see some of the dirt from the rain splashing up. Nothing that a nice dry broom can't sweep off pretty easily. But one of the values, as much as I hate talking about it and showing it on my camera, is that the fly cover top protects you from this, from bird droppings. Yes. And then the last thing I want to show you, I guess there's two things I want to show you. The stove jack here looks kind of dirty because it was rolled up and held onto these ties up there when the stovepipe was in here. And so that's a little bit more dirty than everything else. Everything else under here is nice and clean, but you can see the wind blowing this thing around. I I love the no-seam mesh. I love that I didn't see a single bug inside. If there is, I didn't see it. But you've got these airflow vents near the roof here. I don't know if you can see this in the camera. The viewfinder's really small for me, but I can see a bunch of cobwebs and bugs stuck in those cobwebs. And that's what happens when you're camping for a month in the backwoods of North Carolina. And but I'm glad that they're there, so I can show you that that it's been out long enough that, you know, bugs are building webs and no bugs inside. So in conclusion, there's definitely peace of mind knowing that it can withstand time, rain, the elements, and just held up really well. Every brand has their thing. I was really excited to test out the mold resistance in this. Could it eventually mold? I mean, I'll bet if I rolled this thing up soaking wet and got it out several months later, it would probably find a way to mold. But out in Mother Nature, out in the elements, it held up really well for me. So perfect for festivals, for backyard camping, a temporary guest house, if you will. My father-in-law slept in this for a couple days while they visited from Utah, and he slept in here with the kids, and they had a blast. In fact, he'd come out in the daytime and take naps. But really good, I think, for you know, the rigorous festival weather at Burning Man or wherever. My next venture, and I'll try and do some video. If you're interested, subscribe and you can see that video. But I want to do one showing it on the beach with the wind and the sand, and see just how well it holds up. But all right, I'm going to take it down now. But I want to thank you for watching any of the videos that we've put up. If you visit our website, competitiveedgeproducts.com, you'll see more tents, more camping gear. And if this was helpful, hit the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, including maybe one with this on the beach, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.